In the landscape of early 2000s British television, Richard Hammond was a familiar face to a dedicated few. A broadcast journeyman, he had cut his teeth in the cheerful anonymity of local radio, hosting shows for BBC Radio Lancashire and York. His face, if you knew where to look, could be found on the burgeoning satellite channel Men and Motors, where, with a shoestring budget and boundless optimism, he reviewed used Fords and Vauxhalls. He was a presenter in the classic mould, professional, enthusiastic, and waiting for a break. That break came in the form of an audition for a show being radically reinvented by Jeremy Clarkson and Andy Willman, a show called Top Gear. While Clarkson was the established, opinionated giant of motoring journalism, Hammond walked into the audition as a relative unknown. He brought no ego, no grand vision, only an infectious, almost giddy passion for cars that was impossible to fake. He spoke to the camera not as a formal presenter, but as a mate down the pub, brimming with excitement over a new set of wheels. Clarkson later recalled the moment. He was this ridiculously enthusiastic little bloke. We knew in about 30 seconds he was the one. In Hammond, they hadn't just found another presenter. They had found the show's spark. He was immediately cast as the excitable foil to Clarkson's cynicism, completing the trio's dynamic, and earning the lifelong nickname, the Hamster, for his energetic nature and, to the endless amusement of his co-hosts, his compact stature. In the show's early days, Hammond's role quickly crystallized. He was the daredevil, the one with an unflinching willingness to say yes. While Clarkson pontificated and James May, who joined a series later, meticulously analyzed, Hammond was the one testing the structural integrity of a caravan. He became the group's emotional barometer, his face a canvas of pure delight when taming a Pagani Zonda, or genuine terror when sinking to the bottom of a reservoir in a homemade amphibious vehicle. He was also the relatable everyman, the one whose tastes often aligned with the audience more than the esoteric leanings of his colleagues. He championed Porsches, much to Clarkson's theatrical disgust, and embraced American muscle cars with a sincerity that was both endearing and a constant source of on-screen ridicule. He became the butt of the trio's jokes, a role he embraced with good humor, whether it was for his famously whitened teeth, his penchant for waistcoats, or the simple, unchangeable fact of his height. But in September 2006, the comfortable fiction of television entertainment collided with brutal reality. The location was a former RAF airfield. The machine was the Vampire, a dragster powered by a Rolls-Royce Orpheus jet engine capable of producing 5,000 horsepower. The goal was to break the British land speed record. On his final run, travelling at a speed approaching 288 miles per hour, the front right tyre disintegrated, pitching the car into a violent, tumbling crash. Hammond was airlifted to hospital with a severe, life-threatening brain injury. He was in a coma for 2 weeks, and the world's media held its breath.
With Richard Hammond lying seriously injured in hospital with a brain injury, the BBC won't comment.
The news sent a shockwave through the production and its global fan base. The future of Top Gear seemed trivial. The only thing that mattered was whether Richard Hammond would survive. His recovery was a testament to his own grit and the support of his family, particularly his wife, Mindy. He had to relearn how to do the simplest things, battling post-traumatic amnesia and the profound emotional changes that come with such an injury. Yet just 4 months later, in an act of extraordinary courage, he walked back onto the Top Gear set for the first episode of Series 9. The studio audience's standing ovation was thunderous and deeply emotional.
Now, it's the moment you've all been waiting for.
In a segment they called The Elephant in the Room, they addressed the crash head-on, even showing the harrowing footage. With characteristic gallows humor and raw honesty, Hammond recounted his experience. His return episode drew over 8 million viewers, a phenomenal rating that spoke volumes about the public's affection for him. The crash had transformed his on-screen persona. He was no longer just the cheerful daredevil. he was a survivor. In the years that followed, his adventures took on a new gravitas. Every challenge was now viewed through the lens of that day in 2006. His legendary affection for Oliver, the 1963 Opel Kadett he nursed across Botswana's punishing Makadiggity Pan, became a story of heartfelt perseverance. His arduous race against his co-hosts to the North Pole, travelling by dog sled, was a display of sheer physical endurance. His near misses, crashing a multi-million-pound Rimac hypercar which then burst into flames, served as stark reminders of the genuine risks he took. He was the heart of their greatest adventures. When the end came for the trio at the BBC in March 2015, following the fracas that led to Clarkson's dismissal, Hammond's loyalty was absolute and immediate. Amidst media speculation about whether he and May would continue with a new host, Hammond was resolute. He, along with May, walked away from the biggest show in the world without hesitation. He stated simply, "It was a bloody brilliant thing. And it's a shame it had to end. That proved the on-screen chemistry was underpinned by a genuine, unbreakable off-screen bond." Richard Hammond's legacy is woven into the very fabric of Top Gear. He was its resilient, beating heart. If Clarkson was the show's loud, powerful engine, and May was its precise analytical steering, Hammond was the indestructible chassis that held it all together, absorbing the biggest impacts, providing the emotional core, and allowing the entire chaotic machine to function. His journey from an enthusiastic journeyman to a global star who faced death and returned with his spirit intact is the most compelling human story in the show's celebrated history. The irreplaceable spark that made a simple car show feel like a grand adventure with your very best mates. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe for more stories like this, and let me know in the comments what your favorite Hammond moment was.